Hi, and welcome to another episode where I take old vintage drive-in speakers, fix them up, clean them up, repaint them, and make them look absolutely fantastic for future use. Up here on the table now is a vintage RCA clone model. This may have been manufactured by RCA, but the top up here would normally have the RCA Lightning logo, and it does not. It looks like it's been cleaned off, or it's a recasting that didn't have it. The speaker button, the speaker here does say RCA, and we're going to replace that. We're also going to clean up the internals. So the sides here, these are really, really dirty. And we're going to give this thing a good scrub, a good cleaning, and then a good painting. There is a wire in here, and I'm suspecting that the cone, the speaker inside, may be good, but just in case it isn't, we're going to replace that if we need to. Stick around and I'll show you what we do. So I finally got the RCA clone speaker screws removed. Now, the bottom one was a simple flathead, and that didn't take me very long. The top one here was what's called a Holt screw, and it actually has a recess in it, and I can show you up real close. Get it in focus. Now, I use Holt screws, new Holt screws, to put back in these units, but I also put a rubber spacer in there so that if anyone ever needs to replace them, they can. But this one was in there tighter than anything. I had to basically take I got it as far as I could, but then I had to take my flathead screwdriver and pop the head off. So much for that little screw. But let's see what's inside. Let's see how this looks. Okay. Well, connections look pretty good. It's hooked up here on the side, and I'm not really 100% on the cone condition. I may have to replace it, but I haven't decided yet, just from looking at it. 3 little screws here. You need 4, of course, and these. But I think this is going to be an easy disassembly, cleaning. Maybe I could save the speaker, maybe. This has to come out for sure. Well, okay, so it came out. But now I can get to disassembling this and getting more of an idea of what I'm looking toward. So before I put this in a bag for protection, I just want to show you something. This speaker cone is torn. There's no way you're going to get good sound out of it, so this is definitely going to be replaced. The potentiometer may or may not be replaced. I have to test this. But I wanted to take a moment and show you how these things are wired up. Okay. This is the speaker, and usually comes from the junction box to the drive-in speaker. One wire goes directly to the speaker, and the black wire goes to, come here, it goes to the first part of the potentiometer, pole number 1. Pole number 2 goes from potentiometer to the speaker. And that is how you control the volume of your unit. And as I said, this is getting replaced. I don't know yet about this. I have to test it with a multimeter. But I'm going to put all of this in a bag just so that I can use it later if I need it. So before I do any sort of painting or any other sort of surface work, this unit needs a serious cleaning. Look at this filth, rust, gunk, and the back something. Look at the front. The front is just wrecked. This needs a good scrubbing. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these units right here in this solution of water and pine cleaner, and I'm going to let that soften up, and I'm going to use this brass brush to scrub off as much as possible. There we go. Look at that. Much cleaner. I did these with a couple of dunks and a scrubbing of the brass brush, and I'm going to let these air out in the sunshine today, and once they're done, I'll make a decision as to what I'm going to paint them or how I'm going to paint them. So I finally decided how I'm going to paint this chassis, and to be totally honest, I'm not going to paint it. But I'm not going to let it look like this either. What I want to try to do, and this is going to be the first time I've tried this, is to actually polish this unit to a mirror finish. So what I did was, I got my rotary tool, and I have a 2-inch wheel on here, and I ordered a whole bunch of different grits of sandpaper. We're going to start with 100 and work up to 7,000. And before each one of these, I'm going to spritz this with some cutting oil so that I don't end up melting or breaking anything or sending sparks all over the place. Now, before I do this, I also have to prepare myself. I'm going to go put on some gloves as well as a mask and eye protection, because the last thing I need is any sort of aluminum dust in my nose, in my mouth, or in my eyes. So I sanded this thing down to 10,000 grit, and then I used some metal polish, and you've got some reflection to it. I mean, you can really see the sunshine, some clouds, sort of the horizon. But you know what you can also see? Lots of nasty swirls. Because I used a rotary tool to do the sanding, unfortunately, it left some swirls and gouges in here. And although I could say this is just good enough, if I tried to rationalize this as just being good enough, my high school literature teacher would come down from heaven and kick me in the head, because she always told me never settle for just good enough. So I'm going to start resanding this, and this time I'm actually going to use hand sanding. I've got sandpaper coming in. I'm going to start at 220 grit, and I am going to sand this thing until my arm falls off. Side by side, grit by grit, I'm going to make this thing shine and get rid of all these swirl marks that are not necessary. So this is my hand sanding up to 1,000 grit. And most of, if not all, of the original swirly marks have faded away. Now I'm going to continue with this sanding to 1,500 grit, 2,000 grit, 3,000, and then I'm going to stop at 5,000, only because that's the densest grit I have in sandpaper. Then we'll polish this and see if I can't get that beautiful mirror finish I've been looking for. So after I used the sanding paper up to 5,000 grit, I polished it with Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. It's quite recommended. They didn't sponsor me. I didn't ask for any money, but it's a good product. And I used these buffing wheels on my drill. And this was like the 7th one I went through, because the other 6 turned black as coal. So you want to see what it looks like when it's all polished up? Here it is. Look at that. You can actually see the reflection of the microfiber cloth in the chassis. Got a dollar coin. Look at that. You can see the dollar coin. You can see my fingers holding the dollar coin all the way around. Look. Look at that shine. You can even see me holding my camera in the reflection of the chassis. Now you got to remember, this thing was corroded and pitted. And I mean, there's still a couple of dents in it that I'm not ever going to be able to get out. But right now, this looks incredible. This is what happens when you put the effort in and you don't settle for just good enough. And now my sainted high school literature teacher can go back to resting and watching over me from heaven. Now that the chassis is taken care of, let's get the innards put back in this thing and make it sound great once again. I'm repackaging everything back into the chassis, and as I mentioned before, this knob is really beat up. I'm actually going to save this for another project, maybe one where I can actually figure out how to buff out all those scuffs and scrapes. But for now, I'm just going to put in a brand new one. This is a replacement RCA knob, and it's made by Detroit Diecast. They do a great job on drive-in speaker parts. I am not sponsored by them. They don't give me any money, but they do a great job on products, and I just wanted to make sure I gave them their props. Look at that detail. That's going to look really nice. So I was able to save the potentiometer for the RCA clone unit, and I rewired it back with a brand new speaker. This speaker came from driveinmfg.com. Again, I don't get any sponsorship and I don't ask for any sponsorship. If I use a product, it's because I believe in it, and they can give me $1 million or they can give me nothing. It's still good products. And added a nice curly wire, and we're going to close this unit up. We're going to test it out, and if all goes well, we should be good to go. And this is what it looks like when it's complete. It's smooth, it's silky, and you can definitely see my fingers in the reflection of what used to be a really rough looking chassis. But looks are one thing. Does this thing play sound? Now, it's going to be kind of tricky because if I play any site of music or movie trailer, anything like that, I could get hit with a copyright strike by YouTube and my video could come down, or even worse, I could lose my channel. I came up with a solution though. I hooked the speaker up to this Bluetooth amplifier, and once I hit this switch, I'm actually going to play a YouTube video of my own. So I can't really hit a copyright strike on myself. So if all goes well, I should be able to hit this switch. Actually, let me start the video. I restore vintage old drive-in speakers and try to make them look even better than they were before. Right now what we have here is an Australian drive-in speaker. The company, but I will look it up. This speaker is really, really nice. It is kind of worn out and pitted, and we're going to paint all that up and fix it up nicely. We're also going to put a new cord on the back and replace some of these screws. Now, this unit is missing one screw here. It's stuck. So we're going to have to get a way to get that open. Then once we get this... And there you have it. The speaker looks nice. It sounds nice. It works once again. I've taken a beast and turned it into a beauty. Now, as I've said before on this channel, I don't have any sort of sponsorship program. I'm not underwritten by some Bitcoin company or auto parts manufacturer or insurance agency. But I do put these speakers on my Etsy site, which is chuckmillercreatives.etsy.com. And there you can see all the restored speakers that I've put together for these channels. You can actually purchase one or two if you like. And I also have my photography there, so if there's a photo that you'd like to add to your collection, go right ahead. Thank you once again for visiting my channel. I really hope you're enjoying these videos, and please come back again when I put another one up on YouTube. All the best. Have a great day.